As the temperature warms up and the days get longer, our chickens have started laying again, and this week we are collecting eggs for something different.
There's only one egg.
This week we're collecting eggs to hatch our own chicks, and whenever you're collecting those eggs, you want them to be as clean as possible. So to prepare for this, I switched out our nesting pads. These were not soiled by any means, but I figured it would be better to be safe than sorry. Despite my best efforts to be prepared, our chickens had different plans, and they decided not to lay very much in the next few days. Thankfully, I already had a backup plan in place, and this is where Homestead friends are the best. I was able to reach out to a local Homestead friend and ask her to collect eggs the same week that I was, and so luckily she was able to get some clean eggs, even though I didn't have very many. I don't know why, but for some reason, I feel like these eggs that I'm carrying are much more delicate than the eggs that I usually collect, even though there has been no incubation at this point, and these eggs are exactly like the ones that we have inside our RV right now. So I'm not sure why I feel like these ones are so delicate. I guess you could say I'm kind of manifesting these to become chicks. One thing that kept me up at night earlier this week was how I was going to keep this incubator at the proper temperature. It needs to stay at 99.5 degrees and at a certain humidity, which is approximately 50%. And when we incubated eggs last year, we were in an old farmhouse that didn't have any insulation, and the house itself has trouble holding the heat. So the incubator also was having trouble holding heat. I had to move the incubator around several times to find a space where this could properly hold heat. The problem I have with the current space that I'm in with my incubator is that this is our self-build home. And right now, this downstairs garage area only has insulation, and upstairs we do have drywall, but the HVAC is not active. We do have radiant heat, so that's my plan, is to crank that up a little bit and hope that that keeps the space warm enough for our incubator to stay warm. Now, the big downside to using the radiant heat flooring is that because there's no HVAC upstairs, there's nothing really preventing all of the hot air from just rising up there and then rising outside. We do have insulation up there, so it does keep it a little bit warmer, but we're probably going to run through a decent amount of propane, keeping the space warmer than what we typically do. Shh, don't tell Alex. Now, every incubator is slightly different, and this specific one is the Nurture Right 360 from Mana Pro. It has a preset temperature that it holds, and then for humidity, you fill up this tiny little port with water, and that is what helps manage the humidity. There's also a little vent here on the front, and whether you need the humidity to rise or lower, you can close and open the vent. They do recommend keeping that around 1/3 to half of the way open, and then once you get closer to the hatching date, you keep this all the way open. The four most important things for eggs to properly incubate are temperature, humidity, venting, and that the eggs turn. This specific model has an egg turner within it. I honestly have no idea how you would turn the eggs if you didn't have one that is in it. I mean, sure, you can manually go in there and turn the eggs, but you're really not supposed to open this once you set the eggs. Whenever you open the lid, you are dropping the humidity and temperature drastically, and that can affect the hatching. So I don't know what people do when they don't have an automatic egg turner, but this is part of the reason why I purchased this model. The manufacturer recommends that you test the turner before you actually put the eggs in there, and then once you put the eggs in there, you test it again a couple of times to make sure that the eggs properly turn. And it has instructions here on the front. It says to press both of these buttons to make it turn. And there you go. Fancy. Let's do it again. All right, we're in business. I'm a little bit of a nervous Nelly at times, and so to calm down my anxiety around this being able to hold temperature, I went ahead and set this up last night and put some water in it, and I've been letting it run all day today. It's like 1 p.m. right now, and it is holding temperature and humidity flawlessly. Shh, don't tell Alex that the temperature in here has changed, but my tactics have worked. The radiant heat floor is working great, and we're going to hope that it stays that way. So if you are nervous about the incubator actually holding temperature and humidity with the eggs in there, test it beforehand because that will make you feel a lot better. Last year when we incubated chicks, we got eggs from my friend, the same friend that gave us some eggs this year, and she's really super into genetics, and so she knew exactly what rooster bred with what hen and what the result was supposed to be. So I had marked the eggs with letters that indicated what breed it should be. And the one downside to doing this is that I only did it on one side. And as the eggs turned, it was really hard to see the day of hatching what each egg was. So this year, I don't know what any of these breeds are. She didn't keep track of it. So these are all going to just be like a barnyard mix. I think that's what people refer to it as. But I do want to keep track to make sure that the egg turner is working, especially at the beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark either side of the egg, one side with an X, the other side with an O. Last year was our first time hatching chicks, and it was the best thing that I have done so far with this homesteading journey. I don't know if it's because as we get older as adults, we just don't have as many surprises in our life. So this just felt like me being a kid on Christmas morning, not knowing what was going to happen and which eggs were going to hatch and what we were going to end up with. And so I think going forward, it's going to be something we do every single year. Now that the eggs are all marked, it's time to put them in the incubator. This is an exciting moment. I will need to restart the timer since I did set this up yesterday, and the timer is going to show that we are now at 20 days, I believe, if I hit this menu. It says day 0. Well, I don't know how to do that. I'm gonna have to reset that. Got to figure that out first. That's important. So this incubator actually does give you a day countdown. So it starts at the 21 days and then shows what day you're on. But for some reason it's showing 0 days. So I do need to figure that out first because that is kind of critical. The other last thing I want to do is check the incubator, make sure everything is really clean. I cleaned this prior to putting it away, but I just want to do one final check to make sure I'm happy with how clean it is. Then I will make sure that my hands are clean, grab the eggs, and put them in here. The main thing, which this is interesting, I just took the lid off for literally 1 second and the humidity already started dropping. But I'm just curious to see. So this is how this comes together. This is the little mechanical egg turner, and then there's this tray that sits in here in this base, and then this is your water reservoir. So it does look a little dirty, the water reservoir. It's nothing major. I think I might just wipe it out real quick. Everything else looks really clean still, so just double checking, but I think I'll wipe this out real quick, fill it back up with water, and then let it get back up to temp, and we'll put the eggs in here. Oopsie, made a slight mess. It's gonna make a mess. Yay. Okay, so I gotta figure out how to get this day timer back to 21 days. The incubator is all up to temperature, so it is go time. Once the eggs are set, it's pretty much just a waiting game and making sure that the humidity stays at the proper level as well as temperature, and anytime the humidity dips, you just add more water to that little port. It's pretty incredible that with a tool like this, you can really just set your eggs and let them do their thing for 21 days and then you'll have chicks. I do hope that one day we have a broody hen and that she hatches some eggs for us, because I've heard that that is an extremely rewarding experience. So I hope one day we get to experience that as well. 3 days before hatching, I'll have to make a couple of adjustments to the incubator, so I like to write the date down, and I'll also put it in my calendar as well.
And the countdown is on. In 21 days, we will have little chickies running around. Hopefully, I have 17 eggs in here, and I'm hoping that we get 17 chicks, but there is a chance that we may not have all of them hatched. Fingers crossed, and I'll catch you in a few weeks when we are about to hatch these babies. Hermione! Hermione! Caught you. Owie, girly. You're being silly. Here, you want a treat? Ow! I just got that all on film. That is hilarious.